What's going on, everybody? My name is Danny Zachlin. Welcome to Second Take, a weekly video podcast where I discuss the newest releases in both theaters and on streaming. Let's get started. Our first movie this week comes from David Ayer, the director of The Beekeeper, End of Watch, and Fury. It's titled A Working Man, and it stars Jason Statham, David Harbour, and Michael Pena. Much like last year's The Beekeeper, A Working Man follows Jason Statham as a working class man in a construction site. This time around, where his boss's daughter is kidnapped into sex trafficking. Now, first and foremost, I love a good action movie. I love a good gunfight. I love Jason Statham movies that are not taken seriously. This, however, is not one of them. The biggest issue with A Working Man is the fact that it seems like its script, which was initially written by Sylvester Stallone and edited by David Ayer himself, kind of follows a similar set of tropes involving the Russian mafia, crystal meth. I felt at one point it was like the Breaking Bad from Temu. Unlike last year's The Beekeeper, this movie doesn't really have that understanding of what type of movie it wants to be. The Beekeeper was a straight revenge flick, which was also written by Richard Wenk, who had written the Equalizer movies, which starred Denzel Washington. Like I said before, this movie is co-written by Sylvester Stallone, and you can really tell that he's kind of hitting a lot of those tropes that he's hit in the most recent Rambo movies, where it's a lot more grisly action and not enough plot development. This movie does feature a few bigger name stars, much like Jason Statham, also David Harbour, and Michael Pena, who show in for a brief cameo here and there. Otherwise, this movie is filled with a complete bunch of unknowns who I will admit cannot act. If you thought the acting in Snow White was bad, this is even worse. The biggest problem with A Working Man is, like I said before, it's really not too much fun. After the first initial gunfight, where a couple bodies do fly across the room and some blood does spatter in a pretty cinematic way, this movie gets very tired. It's an hour and 58 minutes long, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's way too long. We have to stop making long movies. Much like on my review of Black Bag a few weeks back, I have to say a 90-minute movie we need to hit the mark on, especially a B-level action movie just like this. As it continues to develop in A Working Man, it really becomes unbelievable. All right, initially you're like, okay, he's a construction manager, he used to be a Green Beret, he has a set of skills, he's hired to go ahead and take this job so he can save his daughter from being taken away by her evil grandfather. Awesome, that's the plot right there. Initially, that works. Then about halfway into the movie, there's three other conspiracies that start to fly in involving the Russian mafia, the Mexican cartel, a bunch of low-level drug dealers that are kind of dressed like the brothers from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I don't really know where they were going with that. And then it becomes very dumb. The movie, however, starts off, initially you could tell, oh God, we're in for a Sylvester Stallone treat. The opening credits felt like I was watching a new Rambo movie. And again, right when the thing is with those Rambo movies, at least, they take place in other countries where the actors don't have to be good. This one took place in America. And they have people playing Russian mobsters or Mexican cartel leaders or other gangsters, and these people cannot act. It was so undeniably stupid at points. It was laughable. I literally could not believe that these people were even on screen. I could have done a better job portraying a Russian mobster, okay? I could have done a better job portraying a cartel member. And the action sequences, like I said, start off pretty cool with a nice amount of pump action shotgun lore, having men fly across the room and blood splatter everywhere. That was awesome. And then it starts to become one of these very generic action movies where, again, people are dying left and right, bullets are flying, and you're saying to yourself, this would never happen. Let alone the premise of this movie would never really, is somewhat believable, especially in these troubling times. But the end of the movie got so ridiculous, it wasn't even fun. Our next movie is Death of a Unicorn, starring Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd, Tia Leone, Will Poulter, and Richard E. Grant. A24, and it kind of resembles the lines of what I like to say, Succession meets the Lost World Jurassic Park. In this movie, Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega play a father and daughter who are on their way to go ahead and meet with a rich family. Fortunately, on their way to this villa, they run into a unicorn, which they struck with their car and kill. Finding out that the unicorn has some special powers. As they start to harvest these powers, they realize that the unicorns are actually in a huge new lore based off the mountains in which they are located. Much similar to Jurassic Park in the Lost World, where John Hammond is taking the DNA of old dinosaurs and mixing them with frog DNA to go ahead and capitalize off of this and create a theme park where he can bring dinosaurs back to life. In this movie, the unicorn blood has been figured out to go ahead and basically save Richard E. Grant's life as he is on death's door in the beginning of the film. Once he injects the unicorn's blood into himself, he realizes that his cancer is miraculously gone and sees the profit he can make off. Now, the fun part about this movie is that the lore that they create with this unicorn allows the kills to kind of be pretty satisfying. It reminded me of the newer update of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, where they kind of have a little bit of a hunt, but it's a little more of a futuristic hunt. They have armed soldiers going out to go ahead and find these unicorns, which initially are trying to go ahead and rescue the body of the dead unicorn that Paul Rudd killed. Again, that's why I brought up the Lost World Jurassic Park. That middle sequence where they save the T-Rex, the baby T-Rex, and the mother and father come finding it, knocking the trailer off the cliff. That's basically that sequence of it made into an hour and 45-minute movie. Which, again, it's fine. It's fun. I'll say the comedy in this movie is really what got me. Will Poulter is hysterical. Remember him from, what was it, We're the Millers? He's still, especially now that he's older, he's more, he's really kind of feeding into that, like, that British roots of his and just really going for the satire. Throughout the movie, you can tell his greed, but also you can tell his ignorance. Whereas Richard E. Grant and Téa Leoni play the parents who are really just kind of, like, trying to keep their wealth, whereas Will Poulter is trying to make a name for himself. So his douchiness really just kind of overplays into the comedy itself. The thing I appreciate the most about Death to a Unicorn is that it's this very similar storyline with a very new execution. Like I said, it's basically Succession meets The Lost World Jurassic Park. And I know people are going to be like, well, I'd rather just watch Jurassic Park. I'd rather watch Succession. But you know what? When we're going to the movies and we have new filmmakers out there to go ahead and make smaller budget productions and kind of just let you have fun at the movies, I'm all for that. Is this groundbreaking cinema? No. Is this an award-driven movie? No. But is it a fun movie in under 2 hours that can kind of take your mind off everything that's going on in the world today? Yeah. So in this way, I recommend Death to a Unicorn. Well, I know this episode was short and sweet, and hopefully next week at the movies, we have a little bit better movies to talk about. Until next time, this is Second Take, and I'm Danny Zaglin. You have a great day.